Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now of course we did just recently receive a free Dunhung PT, who is of course the newest preservation unit in quite a while, and honestly, I've been pretty impressed by both his quality of life, just how good he is, especially for a free unit, and then also some of his abilities to support the team. And one character which has obviously benefited a lot, maybe even the most, personally, I would say, is ANAXA. So here we are on our second account, and today we'll be testing out ANAXA alongside Dunhung PT in a team with Sunday and Sarija in Memory of Chaos, Pure Fiction, and then finally APOC Shadow, just to see just how well he does and whether this does actually feel like an upgrade for ANAXA. When I tried him with Final, he felt decent for Final, but nothing crazy. And then let's see if that's any different for ANAXA. But yeah, with that being said, let's just hop right into it, starting off with the Memory of Chaos run. Also, all premium units here are E0S0 and full character builds will be at the end. Alright, well then here we are with our ANAXA starting off up against the first half of Memory of Chaos. Now I would have actually kind of liked to do this against Lagus. The problem is on this second account I don't have as strong of a second team. We have Saber, but then if we're using Sunday for ANAXA, that means we have to use Bronny on her, and those teams just have not been doing it recently. Also we have a Firefly, but oh my god, the Firefly team just is so slow and dies even if I have an E1 Rowan May on there. At E0S0 on the other units, it just does not end up working out. What else is there on here? Jingyuan, lol, definitely not gonna work without Sunday, so yeah, not really many options, so unfortunately we've had to go for the first up. But then on the bright side, I guess, if we were to do Lygus, then that fight just takes so long, like, not even cycles wise, but just there's so much going on that it just ends up taking really long. And if I also want to fit in Pure Fiction and APOC Shadow, maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Anyway, let's go ahead and fully stack up all of our military meritage. So as soon as we go on our Sunday, we'll be able to do 4 skills back to back to back. Also, let's take a real quick look at our stats. Basically, 102% crit rate to 384% crit damage, about 5.1k attack as well. And as we can see, we have Sunday's full damage percent buff, thanks to the way that Dunhung works. We have a lot of attack boosts as well, which you just absolutely love to see. So right now we're doing about between 100 to 150k per enemy, it seems like. Okay, let's say an average of about 100k per enemy. ANAXA's strongest situation really is in a single target, if I'm being entirely honest. When he's in single target, his damage is absolutely insane. In AoE, it's still respectable, but instead of seeing these 100Ks, we'll be seeing much bigger numbers if we are left down to just one enemy. Anyway, luckily I have had a bit more time to play with Dunhung, and then also from some very nice and useful comments from last time using him, then I am more confident now in knowing what he does. So yeah, he does. Luckily, his dragon does provide ANAXA with Sunday's full buff, because now he technically has a Memo Sprite, and then he also gives him a nice attack percent buff, a nice flat attack buff as well, based off his own attack percentage, which is actually very nice. So, both some good offensive and defensive capabilities. One thing I have realized a bit with Dunhung is that at the start he doesn't give as much shield, but then as the battle progresses, as long as you're not taking crazy amounts of damage, then his shield will definitely catch up, and you will end up even maybe fully stacking it near the end of the battle, unless there are some really, really big hits. So yeah, I am just very happy with the way that he works right now. Luckily we are taking out some of these summons, so we will soon be seeing our ANAXA deal higher damage to the enemies. ANAXA is kind of a unit which technically has a bit of ramp up. You kind of want him to take out all the enemies on field, and then once he takes out all the enemies on field, that's when he starts doing absolutely a crazy amount of damage. It's a bit different to someone like Castris, where Castris's main damage is kind of like at the start, because she's really strong into AoE, but then once you get into single target, her damage is still strong. I do think Castris is probably the strongest DPS in the game still, but then later on in the battle, she struggles a bit more, but then at the same time, you've probably done so much of the enemy's HP bar by then that it doesn't even matter. Anyway, we are right now in the 29th cycle, and we should be clearing here. This is kind of what I was talking about Dunhung shielding being kind of backloaded, so I do kind of expect us to take a little bit of damage at the beginning of the fight, but then later on as the fight progresses, then I am expecting it to stack up a bit more, especially when we have ANAXA who does obviously get an excellent Sunday, where you do get the action forward, so you do also action forward the dragon, which is very nice, and then the more ER Dunhung has, the more you can kind of abuse that to get some insane amounts of shielding. So even though our Surge's health has gone down here, I don't really mind that. I think we are just going to go ahead and use her ultimate here, probably. And then also if we go ahead and use our skill to refresh our speed buff on ANAXA. ANAXA is on attack boots right now, so when the buff when the speed buff from thingy ends, then he will also end up going after Sunday, which is unfortunate. But then if we want to manage SP, that's kind of what we need to do. If we had an S1 Sunday, this would actually probably have full uptime because we'd have more SP to spare on Saridra, so we could technically even skill on her every turn, which would be pretty busted, but unfortunately we can't do that right now. As you can see, we're hitting for about 150 to 200k right now into 2 targets, although of course this will go down once there's more targets on the field, aka now. I will say this little fishy guy is rather annoying to me in some of the R runs, but oh well, what can we do? There's 121k there on the ultimate as well. Just go ahead and basic on our Saridra. Also, the really nice thing about Dunhung is that, first of all, look how much shielding we have now. This will also increase even more once we use our ultimate. So yeah, as you can see, there we go. Our team are nearly fully stacked on shields, which is actually very impressive. So yeah, his shielding is very good, especially later on into the battle. As long as the enemy doesn't have an early nuke, then you are completely fine. Our stats are still looking good on our ANAXA as well. And now he should be getting the full military merit. So once again, we get 4 skills back to back to back. So 105k, 131k, so that's 230k, 90k, so that's 320k, 400k in a rotation. So let's remember that 400k, because now we can go ahead and use our ultimate as well, and that's an additional 74k, so that's 475k. And then once we get our our Sunday, let's see, we could also technically use our ultimate here if we wanted to, but yeah, I think I'll stay off on that for now. 102k, so that's now 575k. So that ends up being about 650k in a rotation, or in a team rotation. Normally in a cycle you get 1 or 2 depending on your speed, and I will take 650k per rotation. Possibly 1.3 million in a cycle, which is a decent chunk, especially for E0S0. Now, of course, some of the other DPSs will be hitting a bit more, but like I said, this is 2 targets, so this isn't even ideal. Once we get into single target, then ANAXA's damage in a rotation is actually kind of unmatched, in my opinion, in single target. I actually think that ANAXA is the king of single target in the game right now. I definitely do think that Castris is the queen of AoE. In all endgame content, Finon is the king of blast 3-to-1 targets, and then ANAXA is probably in pure single target. ANAXA is probably actually my favorite. Actually no, Finon's very strong in the single target. What am I saying? Well, you know what, ANAXA glaze, who cares? Whenever I get the chance to glaze ANAXA, I definitely want to, because I do feel like this guy did get a bit underrated on his release. I actually think that he's quite a bit better than the Herta, I'm not gonna lie. Once again, still have all of our stuff fully stacked up, so let's go ahead and use our skill here. Now, of course, like I said, 4 targets, so instead of doing about 650, 750k in a rotation, we're probably looking closer to about 500k in a rotation. Although as soon as this guy goes down and we are just fighting Japad, that's when our damage numbers will really seem to ramp up. Although, because he is nearly dead, I actually think we're going to get this in the 27th cycle. And actually, free cycling is about the speed I cleared this with an E0S0 Finon, using Saridra, Dunhung, as well as Sunday. So actually, wait, that's the exact same team, just swap around the DPSs. So yeah, ANAXA E0S0 kind of comparable to my Finon E0S0 on my main account, and my Finon is much better built than my ANAXA, so that's actually very interesting there. I do love all the animations Dunhung does in his ultimate, just to hit for really funny damage numbers, let's just call it that. I don't want to knock my boy's confidence, but yeah, look at the shielding we have. We haven't taken a bit of damage since the beginning. 786, that's just we love to see it. Anyway, let's go ahead and use Surridge's ultimate here so that we can get the back-to-back bounces after our first skill here. At least I think that's how that should work. So there we go, 135k. Now we have the military merit, 163k, and now we're hitting 180k, 141k into single target. So that's very nice. That's about 150k in a single hit. So 150k, which we can do about 6 times. That's about 900k to single target in a rotation. So yeah, we love that, but between 8 to 900k in into single target, absolutely fabulous. So yeah, that's it with Memory of Chaos. Very happy with the quality of life, the sustainability, the damage buffs from Dunhung, as well as ANAXA's performance. With that being said, let's hop into Pure Fiction now. Alright, and here we are now in Pure Fiction. Our the Herta with Mini Herta as well as Tribi actually got a score of 25.8k. I was kind of expecting more from them, but at the same time, that was auto battle, so if I did it myself, maybe we would have done better. But yeah, let's see if ANAXA will end up actually getting a better score than Herta. Now the thing is that I don't think the buffs are the best for ANAXA in this Pure Fiction, but then probably the biggest problem is that there isn't as much wind weakness as we would have liked. So normally you'd run Tribi here, but I am committed to running this team every single time, just because ANAXA and Surridge just feel so good together, and I definitely don't want to play him without Sunday. So although I could swap Surridge for Tribi, it would actually probably even produce a better score. I'd rather just use Tribi on the first half as well, because she's probably a bit more important there. And second of all, like I said, ANAXA is just so satisfying with Surridge on his team. I absolutely love it. I'm not gonna lie, I actually prefer Surridge for ANAXA than I do for Finon, which might sound a bit crazy, but I just find it works better. I actually don't enjoy Finon's sustain teams, and his sustainless teams are just not viable in current endgame at E0S0 on every single unit, unless you want to retry a billion times, which I just do not enjoy. So yeah, one thing I will say though about ANAXA in Pure Fiction is that first half on him isn't that fun, just because you don't get as many of his skills, because oftentimes you won't have every single weakness on every single enemy, so it doesn't end up proccing the second skill, which is unfortunate. But either way, he still does enough AoE damage that, you know, it's fine. Of course, I was saying that ANAXA's weakest point is probably AoE, but then Pure Fiction, the enemies in the AoE itself actually don't have the highest HP pools, so you actually don't need to worry about that. It still ends up being fine in the long run. There we go, we are already on the next wave, and we haven't even finished the first one wave, although admittedly we are close to it. Now we can just go ahead and skill. He should get his ultimate here, like so, perfect. And then we could also use Surridge's ult here. Oh, actually, okay, okay, here's the thing. Sometimes ANAXA's ultimate will give him another stack, sometimes it won't. I don't know what that's all about, if I'm being entirely honest. I was expecting to go up to 6 stacks there, but never mind. I guess we'll just have to save that for our next attack on him. Anyway, also, Dunhung's Dragon actually doing decent damage right now in Pure Fiction. Not what I would have expected. In Memory of Chaos, you normally see absolutely comical numbers on it. Anyway, go ahead and basic on our Surridge. It's kind of a violation, the fact that Surridge does more basic attack damage than our Dunhung. Actually, wait, did I level up Surridge's basic? Maybe it's because I leveled up Surridge's basic attack, I don't remember fully. Anyway, some very nice damage numbers here right now. We can also go ahead and use our ult if we want to as well. But first of all, I just want to go ahead and skill here. Now we can go ahead and use our ultimate as well. We do have the option to use Sunday's ultimate as well, which will give us a bit more energy back. Technically, we don't need to use it. We could save it for his turn, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Anyway, YOLO. I don't think this will cost us whatsoever. We've already done 31% here, which is nice. Are we dealing about 6% on each skill on average? That was 8% there, which is, once again, very nice. Actually doing some pretty decent work here, if I'm being entirely honest. Unfortunately, once again, our speed buff has ran out. On the bright side, this does mean that if we skill on, we can afford to skill on Surridge technically, because we only need to use up 1 skill point. We will regenerate 1 from Dunhung, and then because ANAXA is only going once instead of twice, we need 1 skill point, not 2. So yeah, I guess this actually kind of works out for us. No, for that be saying that, but yeah, like I said, S1 Sunday, very, very nice for ANAXA and Surridge. You get more skill points on her, which means you have better uptime on the speed buff if you are running attack boots, and I do feel like attack boots are probably the way to go. At least that's just my personal opinion. You guys can let me know what you prefer / what is better. You know, I'm just talking about my personal experiences here. Okay, unfortunately the enemies do go down. I actually think maybe I should have saved that ult on our ANAXA. Technically there was no need to use it there. So now we don't have all the weaknesses, so our ANAXA is going to have a bit of a ramp up time here, unfortunately. I think I'm just going to go ahead and use our basic attack here. Actually, maybe I should have used the skill, because now we're going to be overcapped on a bit of military merit. Actually, we should get our ultimate here, so maybe it won't be that big of a problem. There was definitely 1 or 2 skills more I could have unleashed there. 267k there on the ult, we'll take that. 222k, another 222k, another, okay, never mind, this time 180k. And we have our ultimate back already. I guess we'll go ahead and take that. We have actually outscored the Hertha team already, which is a very big surprise, because Hertha's side should probably be easier. Now, granted, that isn't a full premium team on her half, like we're using right now for our ANAXA. Although, actually, no. In pure fiction, Tribi, Mini Hertha, and then the Sustain is basically as premium as you can get. I feel like that's probably the best team for Hertha. Maybe that's just because it's the AI playing it. Maybe if I was playing it, we'd get a higher score. Although we'll see if we 60k here. I kinda doubt it. But, you know, we'll have to go ahead and wait and see. Although I do feel like I've unfortunately mucked up again by once again overcapping on military merit. This will kinda just come down to skill point management, which, once again, Sunday S1 would be pretty nice in this situation, but there's not really much we can do. We're gonna have to go ahead and, okay, never mind, we don't get our ultimate here. 258k, 265k. There was just a moment there where I thought that if we procced our Sarija ultimate at that exact moment, that it would clone the attacks, but we were just a bit slow to do it. So yeah, unfortunately a bit of a misplay, because I do kind of wish you could interrupt ANAXA's rapid skills, just because it would be nice to be able to proc like an extra Sarija ultimate. We have 1 more here, although will this do enough to get 60k? I kinda doubt it. Just gonna go ahead and use our skills here. We are actually hitting for very big numbers right now. The question is, will it be enough? It doesn't seem like it. 1 ultimate, and the answer is no. We're at 57k right now, so yeah, a few misplays, overstacked military merit once because I basic attacked, overcapped the second time because I used it during his skill, which I guess I shouldn't have. Maybe both of those mistakes would have given us 1 more of full surrender charge, which maybe could have led to 60k. I mean, the first half performance obviously let us down here as well. Although, to be fair, this is the second account. I'm not that fussed about getting 60k. The more important thing here is that we actually got we got 32k, which is actually a pretty decent clear for an X, especially E0S0, and the fact that this pure fiction isn't even the best for him. So yeah, with that being said, I'll actually once again take that. That's again, in my opinion, an above average clear. And with that being said, let's hop right into, because obviously average would be 30k. And with that being said, let's hop into APOC Shadow finally. Alright, and finally, here we are in APOC Shadow, once again running the same team that you all will be familiar with. ANAXA is honestly one of my favorite APOC Shadow units, especially with the way that his weakness implant interacts with some of the enemies is actually pretty damn interesting. Now again, there is actually basically no good buff we can pick for ANAXA on the first half, which is a bit unfortunate. Now, I feel like we might end up suffering from a bit from Dunhung's shielding not being the strongest at the start, although we'll have to go ahead and see. Go ahead and proc our Sarija ultimate already as well. We do also have our Sunday ult already, which is nice once again. We just need to hope for no freezes. There we go, that's a good start. That's not a good start though, and that is also not a good start. She's gonna go ahead and launch a follow-up attack on all of these guys, which is a bit unfortunate for us. Let's go ahead and use ANAXA's ultimate straight away so that we don't waste the energy from Sunday's ultimate. Now we can go ahead and proc his ult on his own turn, which basically gives us a bit of a turn extension, and use our skill on our Sunday as well. And now we can go ahead and do our regular things on our ANAXA. That's already 2 pillars down, and we're pretty damn close to weakness breaking Cocolia already. Now Japad will stall here by putting his shield up like so. which, you know, unfortunate, but oh well, what can we do? Luckily we will have the, okay, please, okay, nice. Luckily we will have the quadrupled skill coming up, and then +2 after we use Sunday as well. So this should take out Japod's shield, at least I would expect it to. We can go ahead and use the ultimate as well. For some reason the ultimate interrupts the third one. It interrupts after the third one, but not any sooner or any later, which I find pretty interesting, to say the least. Japod's shield is now gone, so using our skills here, we won't quite be able to weakness break, but we'll be getting close. If we go ahead, actually never mind, that won't count. Let's go ahead and just refresh the speed buff on our ANAXA as well, and now we can actually use Dan Heng's ultimate here, which should weakness break, I believe. Yes, it does. Perfect. Now that they are weakness broken, they will be taking a bit more damage. The problem is, once again, we have 2 people on field, which does 2 things. First of all, this is APOC Shadow, so the more enemies on field, the less damage they take. And then, second of all, we already established how ANAXA is stronger when there's just 1 target than when there is 2. So we do kind of want to take out this Japod right here, right now, emerge. Genshin Brain Rot, my bad. 447k, 453, so once again some nice damage numbers. We just need to make sure that this Japod dies, and as soon as he dies we will see Kokolia's HP bar getting absolutely decimated. So yeah, we did less than half in that rotation plus ultimate, although now that Kokolia is on her own, we can go ahead and see the difference. So, okay, thank you, Dragon. Now let's see. Okay, there you go. Yeah, 614k into single target, doing about 15% of her HP bar, and 15% 4 times would be about 60 to 70% of her HP bar, depending on how many turns we get. That's even without using the 5th and 6th. So, yeah, we could have honestly shredded her entire HP bar there, I think, if we had all of our buffs timed right. So yeah, insane. We did that in just 300 AV, which we'll go ahead and take. Although I did make a bit of a misplay here. I kind of pre-fired my ultimate here. I meant to use my ultimate when all the pillars got up. I thought she was going to spawn in her pillars at that moment, but then she didn't. So actually now we are missing the weaknesses on them as well as her. So we're not getting our double skills on our ANAXA, which of course is a damage, weakness break, and energy loss. So actually, big blunder by me there, if I'm being entirely honest. I don't think this should affect it too much because we cleared so quickly, but it definitely doesn't help. So don't make that mistake. Make sure you wait for the pillars to actually spawn in before you go ahead and use your ultimate, because she will go ahead and disperse all of her weaknesses onto the pillars. So first of all, she won't have all of the weaknesses, and then the pillars also won't have all of the weaknesses. So we're just not dealing as much damage and as much weakness break, and of course not getting as much energy as I mentioned all before. We do have our ultimate back now, which is nice, and all of the pillars are already gone. Like I said, that was just a bit of a shame that we didn't get that sooner, because we definitely could have gotten that off sooner. Our speed buff has expired again, so we are going to need to use our Surridra skill again as well. But like I said, luckily Dan Heng are very, very SP positive here, so we can go ahead and afford to take that loss. Now of course, if you don't want to risk this, you could just use speed boots, but I just feel like the damage gain from attack boots is worth it. Like I said, I don't have the math to back that up. It is purely anecdotal. Unfortunately, our Danny boy goes ahead and gets CC'd, but nothing much we can do about that. We can go ahead and weakness break. Yeah, in single target, ANAXA's weakness break capabilities are also pretty damn insane. We can also go ahead and refresh our stuff here as well. I think I'm actually going to wait on Surridja's ultimate here. I think if we go ahead and use our ANAXA ult here, hopefully this will bring us to 6 stacks. If not, then the first skill should. Okay, it doesn't, but that's fine, because the first skill should, which means we will be getting 4 here. It needs to proc on the first, not the second, so if you're going to his turn with 5 out of 6, then it will. If you're going with 4 out of 6, then it won't. Anyway, we are doing about, once again, about 12 to 16%, I want to say. And now we won't even get to finish our rotation. We would maybe, okay, no, we wouldn't. Okay, let's just look at our buffs real quick. 101, 366, 5.2k attack as well, very nice. Okay, all of our buffs once again. Nice 507 flat attack from our Dan Heng, I'm pretty sure that is. So yeah, we definitely just absolutely shredded her weakness bar. It didn't even give me enough time to talk and glaze an excess damage, but there we go. We got a score of 3,485. I think it could have been 3.5k if I didn't make that little mistake, and 3.5k is again an above average score, so we actually did above average in all 3 endgame mods. Very happy. Once again, happy with the sustain, happy with the quality of life, happy with the buffing and the clear speed. With that being said, let's hop into the character builds as well as the outro. Well, as you can see, our ANAXA runs were actually pretty damn impressive. We performed above average in basically every single game mode, which is very exciting. Now, of course, this is a full premium team, including Saridra, who is a decently niche support, although at the same time, this is the second account, so the builds aren't the best. So let's just go ahead and shut off, starting off with our ANAXA. He's on 3.3k attack, 117 speed, because we do get the plus 20 from our Saridra, which is slower than Sunday's 135, 81.9% crit, which becomes a bit over 100 thanks to Sunday's buff, under 5% crit damage, but that's fine because using ANAXA's talent, I believe, yep, he gives himself 140% crit damage. Then we also get crit damage buffs, mainly from Sunday, and then a little bit from some other sources as well. So we end up with like 100 to 350 approximately crit ratio. We are on the S5 Event Air Edition Lightcon. Traces are fully maxed out. Relics, we're on the Scholar set. Speed, double crit, although we have no crit rolls in these. Double crit here, where we actually did roll into crit rate, but no crit damage on this body piece. And then attack boots with double crit, and then for the plain enrollments we are speed with crit damage on Rutilant Arena, and again speed with crit damage. Then when it comes to our Eidolons, of course E0, all of the units here are E0. For our Sunday, we already showed off his speed. Crit damage is 180, which actually isn't that high. You can definitely get more on the Sunday, but that's fine. Lightcon, we do have the Bronistore Lightcon. Traces are, all the buffing ones basically are maxed out. We're just missing a little bit of crit damage. And then for the relics, we are of course on Sacrados, speed and crit damage, speed and crit damage, speed, crit damage, energy recharge on Lushaka as well, just to give a bit more attack to our ANAXA Eidolons E0. When it comes to our Saridra, nearly 3.3k attack, 144 speed. Other stats don't really matter all too much to my knowledge. S5 Event Lightcon again. Traces maxed out other than the basic attack. Relics once again on Sacrados. Just again trying to get as much attack percentage as we can this time, so it's mostly speed and attack percentage on her. Again, also once again on Lushaka, just so that we can get even more attack on our ANAXA, and then also E0. And then with Dunhung, we've got nearly 3.4k attack, 138 speed. Our stats don't matter quite as much. We are on Himiko's signature Lightcon, because this is the highest basic attack Lightcon that I have. Traces maxed out other than basic, of course. We are on the brand new set, which will give our ANAXA a little bit more crit damage as well. Here, once again, we're just getting as much speed and attack percent, same as Saridra. And then once again on Lushaka to give even more attack buffs on top of Dunhung's own attack buff. And then also the fact that he enables ANAXA to get Sunday's full damage bonus buff. So yeah, that's it from us. Very happy with the runs, very happy with the brand new Dunhung, and happy with how he boosted our ANAXA teams. Let me know your experiences with all of these units so far. With that being said, I'll see you guys next time. See ya.